Happy morning after the first preseason game. Happy morning, if you want to call it that. Lions get walloped by the LA Chargers, and that's okay because none of our important players played. The Chargers actually played some of their important players. But overall, I think most of us left dissatisfied. I think most fans, and I think Dan Campbell would be one of them. I think everybody kind of left with a sour taste in their mouth. That's not something you want to do, even in a preseason game, especially as a competitor. However, you need to look, and we've said this over and over and over again on this channel. If you are watching preseason games to see who wins the game, you are watching them for the wrong reasons. You are. What you want to look at is individual performances. And in that respect, it was a little bit better. You're not watching these games to see if the Detroit Lions are going to be good this season. That's not what the preseason games are meant for. What you're watching them is to see what guys number 25 through 53 look like on the roster. And if there's dudes that win these top 22 players, these starters, right? And if they go down, if they get hurt, what will the other guys be able to do? You want to look at that, kind of spots 23 through 35 as rotation players. Do we have good rotation players? What do they look like? There were a couple of guys that absolutely shone through, and one of them I could not be happier about. But we're going to go look at the offense in today's video. Stock up, stock down, and I got two guys for you specifically that I was, believe it or not, impressed with. And so let's do it. Let's start at the place where I have a couple of people that I have a stock up on. The first person that I have a stock up on is none other than Michigan native, Hudsonville's own Isaac TeSlaa. Like, the dude played well. It is very easy to see, and this is a position. See, we have a couple of positions in the Brad Holmes era that have never been fully solved, if I can be completely honest with you. One position that has never been fully solved is backup quarterback. We still have questions on that after last night. I'll get into that in a minute. Another one that never seems to be fully solved is that X wide receiver 3, if you want to call it that. It's that guy that's not Amon-Ra St. Brown, but you need to rely on him for some things. Josh Reynolds was good. He was good, but he wasn't great. And Tim Patrick was a guy who I think did more than we ever expected last year. But again, he's an aging guy with multiple injuries. And when I watch what Isaac TeSlaa did in the game last night, what I say to myself is we just found finally our more dynamic X wide receiver 3. He is a guy that can absolutely win on the outside in one-on-one matchups. He has the best hands out of anyone we've had at that position. He's a hands catcher, and he finds ways to get open even while playing slightly hurt. Because the rumor through all of camp, he's had a brace. I didn't see a sleeve. Now, he was wearing the high socks, so he could have been wearing it under it, but I was looking really closely at that knee to see if I could see anything under it. I did not. So I feel like that injury clearly isn't serious. If it was, they wouldn't be practicing him. But he is a guy who has shown he can do all the things you need to do, but he can do them at just a little bit higher level because he's just flat out more athletic than anybody we've had at that position. So if he can learn it quickly, that'll be good. Not to mention, after the preseason game, I just wanted to be excited for a second. So I watched some Inside the Den because the Lions came out with a new episode of that a day or two ago. Feel free to go watch it. It's almost an hour long. And just watching the story of how he got there and just seeing how much Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell loved him. This was actually a Dan Campbell guy through and through. This is a guy Dan Campbell loves. So and Dan Campbell said it. He's going to be able to have an immediate role, and the future is ridiculous. So that's really, really good. All right, other wide receivers. Let's look at that wide receiver room. Stock up, stock down. I would say other guys that the stock isn't up or down, but I actually think I saw enough, is Dominic Lovett. To me, his stock isn't up because he was unbelievable at the wide receiver position. His stock was up because Jacoby Keeney-James was awful. His stock is up because Taylor and Bell barely saw the field. All right, that is why his stock is up. There's another reason his stock is up. His stock is up because he was consistently winning as a gunner on punt returns, and he actually caught and had a good punt return. So, which is more to say than Jacoby Keeney-James. If this team keeps 6 wide receivers, I think it's pretty safe to say that right now Dominic Lovett is wide receiver number 6. All right, quarterback play. Stock down, both of them. Hendon Hooker, Kyle Allen. I'm going to say something that some of you are going to get very upset with me on. Yes, Kyle Allen threw 2 interceptions. Totally get it. And they were not good interceptions. Not good at all. But here's what I will also say. He very clearly had a command of the offense. He very clearly was doing some of the right things. What was he, like 9 of 14? Dan Campbell, after the game, talked positively. He's like, yeah, you had the 2 mistakes, and unfortunately they were interceptions. That's terrible. But, and he went on to talk about the good things that Kyle Allen did. He was not super upset about it. When they'd flash to Dan Campbell's reaction on Hendon Hooker, when Hendon Hooker was doing things, I don't know. I still see a guy that when the lights are bright and the game action's going, he is way too quick to tuck and run and not keep his head upfield. We actually saw with the Chargers, their backup quarterback, Trey Lance. We saw him keep his head upfield and learn like he was progressing. I mean, the dude's like in year 4 or 5 already, believe it or not. And that's what we're looking for from Hendon Hooker because he has all the other things. Running back was hard. I'm not going to spend a lot of times here. Craig Reynolds is still Craig Reynolds. And I liked what I saw in Jabari Small. I do remember him playing running back at Tennessee, averaged 5 yards per carry there. I liked what I saw in him. It's hard to tell. I don't know about you, but I'm an aesthetics guy. So when I see a running back with number 42 and the last name Small, you just assume he's this tiny little dude. But he ran with good power. He seemed to show some pretty good vision and things like that. But that will bring us to what everybody was running behind. This is an offense that I don't know if they mustered over 200 total yards. And I understand it's the preseason. Like, I understand that. But there's a lot of struggles on this offensive line that I didn't necessarily expect to happen. Hendon Hooker was running for his life. And what I was so excited about was to be able to see what I thought would be Kyle Allen and Hendon Hooker for the first preseason in their life to be able to have depth at wide receiver, so they were throwing to pretty good targets, and to have protection from the offensive line. Kyle Allen had some protection with the first team, which was actually the second team offensive line. He had some pretty decent protection. Hendon Hooker did not. Hendon Hooker didn't even have a shot. Like, he didn't have a fair shot. So, stock up, Coyote Iwasika. I don't know how much this guy can prove. He should be dominating second-team defensive lineman and third-team defensive lineman. He's a guy who has had plenty of starting experience. I don't question if Coyote Iwasika can be a consistent guard for us on this team. I question if he can play at a starter level. That's my question for him. I thought Kingsley Agakwen got off to a really rough start at center, but then settled in, which was really, really good. And some of that is just getting snaps. That's why you like the extra preseason game. I was very disappointed to see that Skipper and Jamarco Jones got the starts at the tackle positions. That was a bummer for me. I really was hoping Giovanni Manu would get the start at left tackle and we could see him for the game. What I did see out of him, like, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying he was great, but his footwork, his pad level, and things of that nature, not lunging over and things like that like he did last preseason, it is like watching a completely different person. Completely different person. And then tight end. We're going to end this video with tight end. Zach Horton, his stock's up. His stock's up because Kenny Yabua got injured in the third or fourth quarter toward the end of the game. It is said that it's not going to be serious. And if this team is looking to keep a fourth tight end, Zach Horton was a guy who was consistent. No, he's not a big passing threat, but he was a guy that they used multiple times throughout the game as a lead blocking fullback. So he might be able to carve out a role there. I didn't really notice if he did much of anything on special teams, so that's something to look for in the next preseason game. So there's your offense. Not a lot of stock up. I would say the biggest stock up and the biggest thing that I took away from this game is that Isaac Tesla, with one preseason game, could tell you something. He looks like he absolutely belonged as a third-round pick. 100%. Trade up for him, that's fine, and we'll see. excited to see what he continues to do going forward. All right, thanks for watching. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you made it to here, it's over 10 minutes. The video's not bad. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one.